think he's lost.
He's lost.
Don't show his privates.
Don't show them. Hey guys, it's Duan, and this is my husband, Craig, and this is our dog, Nacho. He's a Brussels Griffin. If you are new to my channel, you should definitely do 3 things. Subscribe, share, turn on notifications. You like that?
Oh my god. I've only been doing this for 5 years.
I know. My videos include themed cooking videos, interviews, vlogging, living in New York City, lots of wedding stuff. Craig and I just got married, about Nacho, stuff like that. So if you like that, subscribe. So if you are new here, Craig and I moved to New York City January 2nd of 2013. So we are almost celebrating our 7-year anniversary here. And we moved actually to this apartment right here. We haven't moved. We've re-signed our lease every single year. This video, I want to talk about our whole moving to New York City and like the application process, the renting process, all that great stuff for those of you who are interested, who, you know, want to move to New York City. So hopefully this will be very informative for you. Okay, so.
Well, mostly you're going to talk about that. But
no, you're going to talk about it too.
Here.
No, you're talking about too. This was a 50-50 thing. You moved here too.
Moving on.
Okay, so let's begin. I enrolled in a theater and film institute in New York City. So school was supposed to start January 5th. Craig and I were planning to move from California to New York City. So we were planning to move across the country. And we wanted to make things as easy as possible. So we were like, let's go to New York City a month before to see what apartments will be available for January 1st. We flew out here for the week. We did a lot of online looking. We looked specifically, I remember looking on like nakedapartments.com. There we found an apartment that we were really interested in, and there was a broker attached to it. So we emailed the broker and we were like, we're gonna be coming to New York City next week. Can we see this apartment? By the time we got here, it had already been rented, which is a very normal thing in New York City. That's also a big piece of advice. If you go see an apartment that you really like, definitely immediately put down your application for it, because there's always competition. So the broker was like, okay, I can show you other apartments. So there was one apartment we really loved and we started the application process for. It was on the Upper East Side 7 years ago. Mind you, it was $2,300, and Craig and I were like, ooh, the most we want to spend is like $2,000, $2,100. But this apartment was so big, we were willing to pay an extra $200 every single month. And so we're like, okay, let's just do it. Let's apply for this. Our application fee for each of us was $150. And there's this thing that you need to show that you make 40 times the amount of rent to qualify. Annually. So say the apartment is just $2,000 flat, you need to show that you make $80,000 annually. Because we were unmarried, they were like, you could separate, you know, that's not a very like secure thing. So each of you needs to show that you make $80,000 in, you know, and he makes $80,000.
So right off the bat, we didn't qualify. We put in the application and they said, sorry, you don't qualify.
Yeah.
We paid for the fee and they said, sorry, you don't qualify. But you can reapply with a guarantor. A guarantor is basically just like a co-signer. We bring in the guarantor and they're like, the guarantor has to show that they make 80 times the rent. And that was like obviously the hard part of finding someone that makes that kind of money. And then once we did, this person made far more than 80 times, who we also paid a $150 application fee for, and they were still like, nah, no.
It was absurd. And we were just like, oh my God, this is the worst process ever. So then in just application fees alone, we lost $450 and we didn't get that apartment. They were just so strict. Having more of the knowledge that like, yeah, of course, other apartment buildings are, you know, owned by a landlord. We personally love dealing with a landlord rather than a management company, because like with that apartment, if we had gotten in there, that management company also managed apparently 16 other buildings. It just would have felt like so less personal for like our home and everything.
Yeah, they also like, there's no empathy in that process. They don't care. It's a transaction.
So literally everything happened for a reason, because this was our second choice, this apartment, which is a 1-bedroom. It's probably about 500 square feet. It's in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. It totally happened for a reason, because I love I love living here. We live in a building that's like 3 stories. It's owned by like a cute family. So everything we do is like through, you know, our landlord. And
we also got really lucky though. They renovated the building while we were living here.
Yes.
Gave us brand new windows.
We have like all new kitchen appliances. A lot of New York City apartments, their like kitchen appliances are like really
especially
small.
In Manhattan. Oh
yeah.
God.
And ours, we have like normal size appliances, little things like that. It just like worked out that, you know, we got this one. So going back to the process of getting this apartment, because it was owner owned, it was a landlord as a family.
Owner managed.
Yeah, the application process was easier. They took into consideration that we didn't make, you know, each $80,000 a year that we could show.
So they let us do it.
So
combined.
they let us do a combined $80,000, which was really nice, which we were able to show.
I think at the time we were just barely.
I know. Yeah, but they were kind enough to be like, okay, that is fine with us. Just put down more for a security deposit. So we got this apartment using a broker. A normal fee is like 12 to 15% of your annual rent. Yeah. We tried to negotiate. You can definitely always negotiate fees, but unfortunately we weren't able to, and they charged us 15% of the annual fee for this apartment.
12.
No, they charged us 15 because there was a couple of different brokers that were splitting it, and they're like, since there's a few working on this apartment, you know, they couldn't do any lower. Also on that note, we found this apartment for $2,100. It was actually $2,150, and we negotiated. We were like, please, can we have it for $2,100? And we got it for $2,100. So that also made us very happy. But our broker fee alone, which was basically for our broker to come in here, show us this apartment, and leave, was $3,780 for our broker fee. Moving in, we had to pay our broker fee, we had to pay our security deposit, and our 1 month's rent. So our 1 month's rent, like I said, was $2,100, and our security deposit was actually, sometimes it's like 1 month's rent. Ours was a month and a half rent, because they were like, well, you know, you kind of almost make 40 times. Like that was our little like negotiating thing.
And look at us now. We've been here 7 years.
Yeah. So we paid $3,150 for our security deposit. So total for Craig and I to move in here that we spent like the month before we moved here, because we had to pay all of this stuff when we like signed our lease and everything, was $9,030. And this
we
was
moved
like,
here with nothing. So we had to get all new furniture.
Yeah. So then we went back. January came. We moved here with suitcases and a couple boxes, and went to straight away went to IKEA, because we were like, what is the cheapest option to furnish this apartment? Now, being more knowledgeable about the whole situation, if you are looking to move to New York City, definitely when you search, look for no fee apartments, because if that can save you a broker's fee that's like 12%, 15%, some are even like a broker fee will only be 1 month's rent, which still would have been like $2,000, $2,100 for us. If you can save that, please do. Also, just keep in mind the 40 times rent. If you use a guarantor, it's 80 times rent. There's also such things as guarantor services, but if it's like you can move into an apartment or you can't, a lot of people use that guarantor service. I remember we were looking about a year ago actually for a bigger apartment. We were asked to use a guarantor service. I remember just like speaking on the phone with them, and they were going to charge us like $3,000. So that would have been another fee that is just like, you have to just swallow it and just like, you know, move on. Because it, like, at least with the security deposit, you're like, okay, maybe I'll get like, you know, some of it back. But like broker's fee, a guarantor fee, if you don't have your own guarantor, like those are just fees that you just have to pay. Craig and I, because we just got married, we were thinking about moving into a 2-bedroom. So actually yesterday, Craig and I went to a couple open houses, and let me just show you like application process, which is pretty much what we just talked about, but I just want to show you like today's day and age exactly what they are looking for. Application must submit a $500 deposit to take the apartment off the market. This deposit is refundable only if you are not approved. Please don't put a deposit unless you are 100% certain you'd like to move forward. If your application is approved, this will go towards future monies due.
$50 fee per applicant, doesn't matter if you're married or not.
Which is much better than $150, I would think.
Including guarantors. So if you have to bring on a guarantor, you also have to pay another $50 for the guarantor.
Yeah. a letter of employment stating salary, position, and start date, or 2 most recent complete tax returns. If self-employed or retired, a CPA, a letter stating previous year net income and remaining year net income / projected net income, or 2 most recent complete tax returns, a most recent pay stub, and 2 recent complete bank statements and government issued photo ID. And with this one, I think it was a 1 month broker fee.
Which wasn't bad.
Which is not bad, but like I'm telling you, there are options, like there are apartments out there that have no fee.
And that's even how they advertise.
Yeah.
Like I know Street Easy, they have a little tag on it that says no fee. This is all pretty standard stuff. It's the things that really threw us off were
the 40
like the
times.
40 times, the 80 times, the guarantor.
After we saw those 2 apartments, Craig and I went to lunch and we talked about it. A lot of the thoughts in my mind were that maybe we should hold off on moving into a 2-bedroom when it's technically not necessary. We want the extra space, but we don't need the extra space. And our goal is to start trying to have kids the end of next year. So if this upcoming year is the last year that we can actually live in a 1-bedroom and save money, then like why
live near our friends.
and live near our friends, why wouldn't we? Also, the fact that we've been in here for 7 years, so our rent has like barely increased, which is amazing. And that's also because we have a really good personal relationship with our landlord. They really like us. So every year when they send us, to re-sign our lease, it like has barely gone up. That we're like, yes, we would absolutely re-sign. So our rent is already so much lower than if we moved into this apartment today. If we were to leave and move into a 2-bedroom right now, we would be going in as like 2019 prices for a 2-bedroom, and it's at least $1,000 more a month than where we are living right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for that we get amenities, like we don't have a dishwasher, we don't have a washer and dryer, we don't have we only have 1 internet service provider for an option, like we don't have central air conditioning, we don't have ceiling fans, there's a lot of stuff that
we don't have, but also we've been able to get by the last 7 years. It's like, what do we really need? We have a laundromat that's 2 blocks away. We just wash our dishes and dry them and then put them away. So I think we're going to stay put for the next year.
Get rid of all debt, save as much as we possibly can.
Exactly. And also, we just got married. We need to be like very financially smart for the both of us for our future. Because like, do I want to spend so much more, like $12,000 more a year, when we should be saving? And like, I want to, buy a place at some time. Just things like that.
The goal should be that over the next year we should bump up our savings by $15,000
at least.
You know what I mean? Like, since we were going to spend $12,000 on living. Yeah.
We could actually have that saved in an account rather than just have let go of it. Yeah. I know this is a lot of information to process, but hopefully this was informative to you, just in case you are looking to move. But there's definitely ways around it. Like if you are just coming by yourself to New York City, there's definitely always options of like, you can go on, what is it? I think gypsyhousing.com.
Yeah, there's
where
like
you can
roommate websites.
Yes, exactly. Things like that. But this was just how we did it because Craig and I, we were moving to New York City together and we wanted to get like our own apartments, and this was just what we had to go through. But if you're thinking about moving to New York City, do it. Hopefully this didn't scare you. I love living in New York City. It like has pushed me. I'm so much more driven here. The energy in New York City is insane. It's so magical here. But we both love it here. So
well, you didn't want to stay. You said, no, let's do a year.
Oh yeah, that was also a thing. I was like, let's just move to New York City for a year and experience it. And here we are, 7 years in, and we are just so in love. I love you, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.